Well, it's now difficult to define the security situation in the northwest of Nigeria as banditry, terrorism, or war. The Kaduna state government has warned that residents of the state to be on alert for explosives planted in public places by terrorists. And the warning came after recovery of an object by the police suspected to be an improvised explosive device planted in a popular beer parlor along Nnamdi Azikiwe bypass in Kaduna. Now, the State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arawan, said assessments by some security agencies indicate a possibility of terrorists looking to harm citizens by discreetly placing explosives in public facilities such as schools, hospitals, hotels, bars, entertainment centers, restaurants, parks, major roads, and places of worship. Well, I understand we have the Commissioner on phone right now for more on this discussion. Good to have you with us on Journalist Hangout. So first, let's begin with you on this. Tell us the latest development regarding this situation and how serious is it?
Well, like you must have heard of what happened on Sunday in two locations in the Kaduna town here. We had an explosion in a football viewing center, but we were fortunate. People were not there at the moment we had the explosion. What happened there was the fact that the building was destroyed, and it created attention in the general area in Kabala West, in Kaduna South local government. Similarly, at a recreation place situated around Angon Rominu extension of Nnamdi Azikiwe Expressway, unknown person or persons, so to say, equally planted what was later found out to be explosives in that location. But security agencies were alerted and they were able to diffuse the said devices from exploding. And at that point in time, there were dozens of people who were recreating at the said location. So you can see, if we had explosion in that location, obviously it would have been it will have been a bad case. So this is what happened. So it is on the strength of that the Kaduna State Security Council reviewed the situation, and we collectively agreed to come out with an advisory, security advisory to citizens of the state, drawing their attention that suspected terrorists might be lurking around, looking for where to plant devices.
All right, but let me quickly come in here. Apologies, but what do you think can be done to salvage the situation apart from the warnings that the government has given to the citizens in the state?
Well, for obvious security reasons, I cannot be able to make public certain steps that have been taken by security agencies and government. But what we want members of the general public to know is to be conscious at any place where people are gathering, places of worship, schools, hospital, recreation centers, and market, anywhere that people are gathering. We want people to be conscious. We want people to to be conscious of what is happening in and around them. Because what we had from Kabbalah West was so unfortunate, because people were able to see one or two. One person was seen, looking around, and they couldn't intensify interrogation. If they had intensified interrogation, we believe they could have get hold of the said individual who was seen looking around. So what we are doing is to draw the consciousness of our citizens to be mindful of what is happening in and around them.
All right, let me put you back still on hold. We're still on this discussion. Let me quickly bring in our guests to analyze this situation further. ASUU, what's your reaction, taking a cue from what he just said, that the government has warned its citizens about the impending threat, about terrorist plans? What do you make of this?
It's frightening. Just like you said, it's like the terrorists are now taking the battle down, looking for soft targets. And soft targets, you only find soft targets where people are gathered. It's either you go to church, you go to schools, bars and even viewing centers, especially when it comes to period that we have tough matches. Like, maybe take for instance on Saturday that we had the Carabao Cup. They know that people will gather at the viewing center trying to watch. I remember in 2014 in Damaturu, it was a viewing center that a twin bomb blast happened in Damaturu in Yobe, as well as some other places like that in Nigeria. It's just for us to be more vigilant. I think if residents are more vigilant, when once you see somebody that you feel that, okay, I've not seen this particular person around my area, that should raise some level of suspicion. You don't have to keep that to yourself. It's for you to just ask another person beside you and say, bros, have you seen that person before in this area, maybe in another street or in another town? Let the person tell you, okay, fine, I've not seen that person. Then from there, you raise that alarm within yourselves quietly, so that you'll be able to pick that person and then interrogate the person. I think if we do that and everybody becomes very conscious of that, because it's happening in Kaduna, it might happen any other place. Sometimes you go to a particular place, either a drinking bar or a stadium, for instance. You have to be conscious of who is bringing something that is foreign. Don't just sit and say you just want to watch the match or just want to have fun and leave. You must also use your eye, to look at, analyze your area, your environment, because security is not only for the government, it is also for us. So what the Kaduna State government is doing is good, but I think every other state and every other Nigerian must take a cue from that. Because if they are planting bombs left, right, center, it means that they are out to kill. So don't be a victim. So if you see any suspicion, anybody that you feel is not around your area, just raise that alarm, but quietly, so that that person can be picked up. Right,
point taken there. But DG, BC apologies. Now, when you look at this situation, I'm particularly concerned about the economic implications, because we understand Kaduna is one of the major industrial, commercial centers in the northern region. And with this situation, how do you see this affecting the state's economy and by extension the country's economy in general?
Naturally, I think it will, because if people are not confident that when they go out they are going to be safe, they may likely hold back and refrain from, participating in some economic activities like going to bars and the rest of it. But basically, I think issues of insecurity should be taken as a given in our present situation in Nigeria. And because of that, we should work around the situation and ensure that we still move on economically in spite of it. And that is where the consciousness of it is very important, because if we want to look at it and hold on and hold back to what we are supposed to be doing, we have a lot of problems already, and we just have to take steps, measures to live above the problem. That is what I'm trying to say. I think also that aside the citizenry being more conscious of their environment, being more security conscious, I also think public places should also be more security conscious and also install security devices, make use of technology that will make them know what is happening around them. CCTV camera, for example, should be a common thing in public places like pubs and restaurants, hotels, public places, schools, churches, and all of that. Because I can imagine if there had been a CCTV, for example, the people that were seen looking around could have been captured, and that could have been analyzed, and probably they could have gotten those people. So I think we should intensify our campaign for our public places to be properly protected, guided, and secured through the use of technology, aside people themselves being more security conscious. I commend the Kaduna State government for bringing this to public domain and for telling people to be more careful. At least now, if they see any objects that they could have passed by in the past, they will be more conscious, they will be more careful, which is a good one. But going forward, I think we should take specific steps, technological wise. Let's make use of technology to fight insecurity, because there is always a limit to what human beings can do in this
and
way.
Talking about security, I mean technology to fight security, ASUU, when we're looking at the level of the state security infrastructure, do you think perhaps the state government in Kaduna has the capacity to handle situations like this, even though there have been calls for a review of the state security architecture? Do you think perhaps this is what the government should do in this case, even if at all is asking citizens to be vigilant on their part?
Yeah, well, they can devote a certain amount of money, for them to get CCTVs on the streets of Kaduna, which I feel that they would have done, because Kaduna has gone through a re-engineering since Governor Nasir El-Rufai came on board, So I want to believe that they will have CCTVs. With the good roads they have, CCTVs will come. It's just for them to also encourage those who have all these soft targets for bandits to also go in that line, in the sense that if I'm going into a public space, there should be a CCTV. There's somebody who was telling me that she can't go into any hotel if there's no CCTV inside. That is to tell you that she is conscious about security, because if Nigerians are like that and say, okay, fine, if I'm going to lodge at a particular place, if there's no CCTV, I won't. I'm moving to another place. Everybody will now know that, everything can happen. It's just like what happened, in Ife some days back, that a student was killed. The CCTV was not there, If, for instance, we have CCTVs in virtually everywhere, things like this won't happen, or it will be brought to a barest minimum, So, in terms of technology, yes, the federal government handles the police, the security architecture in terms of personnel and as well as giving equipment, but the state also has to complement. And in complementing, that is where the state can say, okay, fine, for the CCTVs, for the road, for the minor, for the those places that we know that they are soft targets, we can begin to provide those TVs, and then make sure that it is functional. Yes. Because there's another thing for you to buy, and then there's another thing for it to be functional. It's not only for you to use it when somebody crosses the red light, you use it for it. No, but also when crimes are committed, that is when you can now use it to profile that person and then be able to apprehend it. I tell you, Esther, if we have CCTVs around, crime will reduce, because people will always be afraid that there's somebody looking at them. It's just like when somebody is here and you want to commit sin, you always remember, there's God. Then you now restrain yourself. So that is how CCTV will look like if we begin to put CCTV around. It is only a heartless person that will see, that will now want to commit crime, and you know that that person is heartless. You know, but I can tell you, if somebody is heartless and he knows that there is a CCTV, he will want to restrain himself or herself. Right. So let the government also spend money. Not the one that, you know, there was a time the federal government spent money on CCTV in Abuja. Till today, we are still trying to look for the money. Even I heard that the federal government is still trying to repay the money for the CCTV. But this one, they have to make it, you know, work. You know, across all the states,
right? The
federation.
Right, we still have the Commissioner for Internal Security Affairs of Kaduna State still with us on the line. So let me quickly ask you this question before we move on to our next area of discussion. How far would you tell us the government has gone in improving the level of security architecture in Kaduna State?
Well, before coming to the question, I like you to know that government of Kaduna State is also investing in technology. It may interest you to know that we have been working with trackers which help us to do a lot of tracking and mappings, and it has been helpful in so many ways that I cannot be able to talk about it for obvious security reasons. It may also interest you to know that we are also working on what we call a Safe City project with CCTV, starting with Kaduna town, and we also intend to move to Zaria and Kafanchan after we are done with Kaduna Metro Police. I also want you to know that we are presently working on forensic laboratory, which will also help us to do a lot of forensic analysis and traces. These are few of deployment of technology that we are working on here in Kaduna. Now, when you talk about what are we doing regarding the security architecture of the state, we have a robust security architecture here in the state, with membership drawn from the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the police, the DSS, and other relevant security agencies. We have also reformed what we call Kaduna State Vigilance Service. The purpose of this service is to complement existing security response from the different security agencies. And that is why the state is sectorized with several response teams across. From in Benongwari general area, there is Operation Wild Punch. There is also 271 Nigerian Air Force detachment on the ground in Benongwari. Kaduna Abuja Road, it has an aggressive response team from the defense headquarters, codenamed Operation Thunder Strike, side by side with the Nigerian police team that is also deployed on that strategic route called Operation Puff Adder. So if you look at the Southern Kaduna general area, there is also Operation Safe Haven. It is another defense headquarters response team in the general area. And coming to Kaduna town, the 2 battalion, the garrison command, the Nigerian Air Force, they are working aggressively in ensuring that we scale up and we contain threats. But like you know, what we are dealing with is asymmetric, and these bandits or terrorists are highly mobile. So dealing with this problem requires you to be on the ground 24/7 without a break. And I want to assure you, I want you to know that the security architecture of the state is robust. State government is supporting federal security forces that are here in Kaduna, and we have a sound synergy working with all the agencies. And we have also expanded the human intelligence network, because intelligence is very important in containing asymmetric warfare like what we have here in our hands. So we are working very hard, aside other soft approaches that government is working on. For instance, we have a robust state government response team under the leadership of Kaduna State Peace Commission. They have a duty, and they are engaging they are responding to different conflicts across the state by way of engaging critical stakeholders and interests that are involved. As we speak now, we have a delegation that is here in Kaduna State training our district heads and also Fulani Arbus.
All right, and that's a fine place to leave it. Commissioner for Internal Security, Internal Security and Home Affairs, Kaduna State, we'd like to thank you, Mr. Samuel Arawan, for your time with us on Journalist Hangout. Well, let's quickly go on a short break, and we have more issues to discuss on the program. Stay with us. Well, students are now picked by the frequent shutdown of universities due to incessant strikes by members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. To vent their anger, members of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, staged nationwide protests calling for immediate negotiations between the federal government and ASUU to end the strike. Well, now the angry students also took the protest to Abuja, where they barricaded the entrance to the Federal Ministry of Education. Meanwhile, the Minister of Education, Adamu Adamu, staged a walkout from the meeting between him and leaders of NANS. And the visibly angry minister said he was disappointed with the students, adding that the government has done what is expected of it. Let's share the story of the protest with you.
February 14th was an unpleasant day for Nigerian students after the Academic Staff Union of Universities announced a one-month warning strike for the federal government to honor the agreement reached with the union. The National Association of Nigerian Students had threatened to stage a nationwide protest should the federal government and ASUU fails to resolve their crisis amicably and ensure a lasting solution to continuous strikes. Today, it is carrying out its threat as it staged a protest in several states of the country. Students carried placards with different descriptions, singing solidarity songs to drive home their demands. They lamented that they have been the major victims of the irresolvable crisis between ASUU and the federal government since 2009.
I don't know what they have been able to discuss with the federal government, but what we are saying is that it doesn't concern us. We want to go back to our various classes. We want to go back to our various classes.
Yeah. The situation that we are going to school for 2 to 3 months and we go for a strike. This thing is affecting us, it's affecting on our years. We go to university to spend 4 years, but you end up spending 7 years.
And in the nation's capital, the national body took its protest from the Unity Fountain to the National Assembly and to the Ministry of Education.
Standing on nothing.
They were received by the Minister of Education, but the encounter did not end well. The minister was visibly displeased with questions thrown at him by the student and staged a walkout.
By the time the strike started up to this moment, what is it that the government has not done? So instead of coming here, you should have addressed your lecturers there Perhaps the only point that you made that is worthy of even attention is you said students should be involved in this, and I think probably this is a very good thing. And it is the only thing I'm going to take out of what you have said here. Thank you very much.
Solidarity. That are paying the salary. We do not really take the state. We working as a
For the students, the action of the minister shows that the government is not serious about changing the face of education in the country. The students had lost several months of academic pursuits, sitting at home due to COVID-19 pandemic. The students are also calling for the sack of the minister, as this action, they say, portray that the government is not serious in changing the face of education in the country. Helen Osamede Akins, TVC News, Abuja.
Welcome back. Well, Asuko, while before the program, while the report was going on, you said we really have a problem. Indeed, we have a problem.
No, we have a very, very big problem, in this country. This is the Minister of Education that, I think this is even the first time that I'm even hearing him talking, and working out on students who want the best for themselves. Everybody is going to school for them to get educated, for them to also become ministers at some point.
True.
And there is no nation in this world that does not depend on education. Esther, you see Ukraine that is having problem. They put high premium on education. And that is why you see so many Nigerians
students,
are in Ukraine learning.
Medical students.
Exactly, Esther. At least we spoke with a couple of them in the course of this war. There is even one that is saying he's not coming back to Nigeria. He's still there.
Excuse me.
Yes, he said he's there, he's not coming to Nigeria because he's learning, because he knows that if he leaves Ukraine and comes back to Nigeria, there's a time frame for him to return back to school. And if he does not, if he misses that, then he has forfeited his education. That is because they put high premium on education. And so if these students are protesting, and I thought they were even going to carry placard inside the hall, but they were not there. They went there, they asked relevant question. Even definitely the minister is supposed to know that there is anybody that is angry will throw anything or any question at you. So it was supposed, even if they say, oh, but your children are not going to school in Nigeria, the simplest thing would say, oh, I think I don't like that what you said, but we are going to address your matter. And the matter that they are addressing is since when? It's been lingering since, Esther, I can tell you that ASUU's problem has been lingering since 1999. Because I know that even when I was in school, I encountered strike. This same strike over is either going to be salary or for universities to be refurbished or whatever. So if, for instance, that thing has been, the issue and the matter has been lingering, and then the Minister of Labour has even intervened at some point, I think the Minister of Education is supposed to sit down and hear them out. We are talking about education. He is like the father of those students. Because he's the Minister of Education, for crying out loud. You are supposed to listen to them. Because if the minister does not listen to these students, is it the Vice Chancellor that will listen to them? Because by the time they carry placard and go and meet the Vice Chancellor, he will say, even your minister, that is what, he will say, my Oga, the minister, they don't even attend to you. Is it me that will attend to? That is how this thing cascades. And so we must begin to think that way. It's not about just working out on them. He has not solved the problem. The problem is still there. Esther, there is so many things that if we start now to begin to analyze the issues between why strike and how it affects students, you will weep for Nigeria. You will weep for our future, because we are talking about our future.
Right.
Because one, Esther, if you are in school, you are like, you enter the university at 24 or 22, depending on, the number of years. Now they've said that you have to reduce maybe to 18. If you enter at 18, Esther at 20, say by 20, at the age of 25, you are not even out of school because of strike. By the time ASUU will go to strike 1 month, they will now say, okay, fine, they want to go to another 3 months. By the time you are out at 27, you want to look for a job in Nigeria. They will tell you the minimum age is 25. How do you get a job?
You can't make up.
How do you get a job? You can't. So these are some of the things that the minister is supposed to realize as, okay, these people genuinely, they came to you for you to address this matter about ASUU going to strike. It's simple. You just have to talk to them. We need to get to a point whereby students will need to be respected. Because we are paying. I'm also affected one way or the other.
Yeah. I'm
affected because I know that I'm having a master's degree program in uni. Like, I've been there since, but they've not finished. Because my supervisor is telling me, oh no, that it's after the strike. That is when they will attend to me. So what do I do?
You keep paying.
I will keep waiting.
Go to Ukraine.
I pretend I didn't hear that. But BC, you know, it can be a laughing matter, but yet it's a serious one, because it's something that we need to talk about. It's becoming like a recurring decimal, where ASUU and the federal government is at loggerheads, and the students get to suffer in the midst of all this. What's your assessment with the way things are being handled from 1999 till present?
First of all, let me say I want to commend the students, the NANS this time around, for actually taking their protest to the doorstep of the Minister of Education. In the past, they've always threatened to protest and nothing happened. But this time around, they actually took their destiny into their own hands and went to see the minister. And from the way the minister responded, you can have an idea of what has been happening and why we are having problems in our education sector. The minister, his reaction is like he was even doing the students a favor by sitting down with them in the first instance, which can also translate to the fact that if you look at the ASUU federal government negotiation, we can then infer that whoever is in charge on government side thinks they are probably doing ASUU or the entire nation or the education sector a favor by even sitting down to negotiate with them in the first instance. And that is probably why since 2001 that they've been talking about this, their negotiation and with federal government, nothing concrete has been done. You'll find out that, okay, in 2009, the federal government signed an agreement with the union. The federal government signed this agreement and it has not fulfilled the agreement. This is the agreement that ASUU has been talking about since 2009. Successive governments
has come and gone.
You know, it shows that there is little interest
or commitment.
No commitment.
Political will.
Yes, no political will to actually do anything. And if you ask me, why was the minister angry? Because the student said, your own child schooled in the UK.
Yes.
And he became angry.
There's nothing bad.
He became angry. I am not sure if the minister's child schooled in UK. I'm not aware. But I know that there is one Adamu Rashid, who happens to be the executive secretary of the National Universities Commission, whose child did his PhD in engineering in a UK university, which people complained about. Maybe the students were missing up that particular Adamu with the ministers, and probably that was why he got angry. But then, it is not a big deal. Your child schooled in UK or does not school in UK, you could have simply told them that all my children schooled in Nigeria. And Adamu cannot even tell me that his children schooled in Nigeria. In any case, he has to come out to say that. You get it? He has to come out to say that. So why should you be angry that students come to you and you just walk out on them? So it shows that you don't care for them. You don't care. These are students that missed a whole academic session in 2021. 2020. Yeah, they missed a whole academic section, and this is a minister that didn't even come out to utter a word. I love what ASUU said, that this is the first time. Personally, I cover education. Education is my special area. This is the first time I am seeing this minister of education publicly talking about education, and look at what he did. It shows you the kind. He's a god. He is a god. The rest of us, we are I can't even say we are slaves. These students are nothing in the eyes of these people. The minister didn't do well at all. I think he needs to do something to correct his action, if it is possible for him.
And what would you think that should be?
I think he should just come out plainly to apologize to the students and to Nigerians about his conduct done in that meeting, and then tell them what the federal government is doing on this ASUU strike, and reassure them that everything will be fine, and that they will ensure that before the end of the 4 weeks ultimatum given by ASUU, that the federal government will reach an agreement with the union, and that these students will go back to school and be fine. See, you are talking about students in Nigerian students in Ukraine. I saw a video before I came here today of these students pleading with government. You needed to see them. All of them, they are at the border of Ukraine now, but there is no bus available to even convey them to Poland or anywhere. That's why they promised that the federal government said they will make available buses to them. Maybe the buses are still on their way, but these children are not also finding it funny. For a student to tell you that would rather stay back in a war zone than come back to Nigeria shows you that the thing down here is, it does. I don't know how many times that students must have been jammed.
Yes, now by jam.
By jam.
All right, let's take this call. I have Prince calling right here in Lagos. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, yes, ma'am. You see what Adamu Adamu has just done now, what we are seeing, that is what the people in government are now doing. Do they think they have become king god because they are ministers? And besides, doesn't mean that these students, they don't have right to protest. She should tell her you're supposed to be a responsible and responsive minister. Is that the way they will address our education? If somebody that's supposed to be in the university for 4 years is spending 7 years, does he not have right to complain? I don't know. I mean, the president should see the kind of people he has appointed as ministers.
All right, thank you very much for your points taken there. I appreciate your contribution on the show. ASUU, yes, indeed, it can be worrying, I would say, because when you're talking about students who have to stay longer than expected 4 years, and they stay longer than that, and they want to know what the future is like for them. So what do you think the government should do, perhaps the federal government now, to address this situation? Because it's becoming like a recurring decimal where ASUU and federal government are at loggerheads, and the children, or the students rather, get to suffer for this. So they don't know where the future of what the future looks like for them. So what do you think the government needs to do if it is to handle this situation holistically?
I think the government they know what to do.
Because
ASUU, the thing is, ASUU has been talking about, okay, let's look at this thing once and for all. There's not, see, the people in ASUU, the members of ASUU, they are professors. They also want the best for students.
They even have their children.
They have their children. Most of them have children in schools, in either federal universities or even private. Before I go back, there is nothing stopping the minister from saying, oh, I have a daughter in the UK. Fine. Anybody who has money can send his child or ward to any school, either local or international. But if they even throw it at you, that is why, oh yes, I have the money to send my child there. We don't even know if the child is even doing a PhD, because you can do a PhD outside Nigeria. If you want, even if it is a master's, provided he has the money, that is what the minister is supposed to say, rather than walking out on the student.
All right, point taken there. Let's... Okay.
Okay, you have to get...
Yeah, no, what to take the last position on this? Final thought.
So my final thought is the federal government should go back to the negotiation table or the agreement table, not even because there's no point negotiating, because ASUU has been negotiating and talking about it. If they need to cut, because they've been saying they want to pay the money in bits and pieces, let them do it and fulfill. Say our federal government, they have fond of either always making promises that they will not fulfill. So they have to fulfill this promise, because this, we are talking about the future of Nigeria.
Students, absolutely. So final thoughts on this, BC?
Yeah, let them just fulfill the agreement they have with the union, because as it is now, I doubt if the union will go back to class without the government doing its own part this time around. So I think even if government does not provide all the money that is required, if it shows commitment and seriousness, I think ASUU will go back to class. So government should just
do the needful. Well, they're not that bad that they won't, listen to government.
All right, and that's a fine place to leave it. Let's quickly go on a very quick break. We have more discussions right here on Journalist Hangout. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. Now, the dates for the conduct of the 2023 elections have been given. What is next is the contestants and the platforms they will be using. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has announced that only 18 political parties will take part in the elections, and the commission said it has closed the window for registration of new parties to take part in future polls. Asukwa, what do you make of this now? We have only 18 parties to take part in the next elections. Let's get your reactions first.
I think it's good now. So it's left for Nigerians, because I was thinking at some point, because the way we are going, I was thinking we will turn to India that has close to 2,000 political parties. That will be using a exercise book, when once you are looking for your political party, you start flipping through and then looking for your political party that you thumbprint. but thank God it's just 18. INEC will be able to, manage the ballot sheet and know that, okay, this is the political parties, and then maybe 9 here, and then everybody will know. Because before it was so long, then you begin to wonder, because most of those political, they were just existing on the pages of newspaper and maybe in Abuja, filling up spaces in Abuja. But now INEC has streamlined it into 18. So it means that people will start looking for alternatives if they want from APC and PDP. So you shouldn't say it's just those two political parties. We now have 18. So go and look for. So people should start listening to, watching and seeing the person that they want, not all the political parties that they want to follow. So that they will say, the APC have been ruling us for a very long time. Oh, PDP has been. No, it's now 18. So if it's SDP that you want to go, or it's the ADC, it's now there. And thank God that when INEC opened, the window was open, and they are using the 2020 Electoral Act. By then you are supposed to have registered a new political party. The new one starts immediately after the president signed. It means that anything after the president signed, you can't register another political party, which makes a lot of sense. So we are going to see a good contest, and the presidential election is like a year from now. Same with the governorship. So people should start thinking of the political parties that they will join. The people who are aggrieved, it's better they leave now. But Nigerian politicians, they don't leave until when everywhere is scattered. That is where they will start looking for, shopping for political parties that they will go and support or even continue with their ambition. Well, let's see how it goes. I think INEC is ready for this election, because they were actually ready for the president to sign the electoral act, for it to become law. So now that they've done that, I can see some level of changes in INEC. Right. And I must commend the INEC chairman, because immediately that bill was signed into law, after a day or two, he just had a press conference, issued a new set of timetable and schedule for the activities, And that is what we have now. So we have 18. So people should know that we have 18 political parties, not 50-something again. And it's not even up to 88.
67 at the point.
Yes, you know, so now it's not long. We are not going to look for Jota that will be flipping through. So it's 18.
Yeah, and you know, that's a plus. Although we have 18 as against 67, I think about that number for last elections. But does it really change the fact that we have two dominant political parties in the country? Because yes, we have 18 political parties, but where are they?
I don't know. I don't even know them. And interestingly, I'm just wondering, where would the third force be? Is because I've been hearing about third force of recent, and apparently the third force cannot register a new party now.
No, they can't.
So probably the third force will just pick out of the remaining 16. It has not changed anything. The two dominant parties, whichever name they are called, has always been two in this country, right from 1999 when
exactly. NLC, SDP.
Yes, it's either this AD or whatever, ACN or whatever. And I think
PDP.
We need to make that to be more robust. I think these two parties sort of isn't good enough for us, because if you look at it, why do you have 18 parties, for example, and at the end of the day, the National Assembly is filled with members of two major parties. So what is the essence of having the other parties? You look at even the states, the local level, the same thing happens. So what is the essence of having all of these political parties if they cannot pull their weight? Even if they cannot pull it well at the national level, what are they doing at the local, at the state level? So I think we need to move away from just having party for having party for party's sake. Then this issue of having parties around individuals, we also need to address it, because you look at some of these political parties,
yes,
you can only identify an individual around them, and when you remove that individual, it's like the whole thing is gone. Is that what a political party should be? Yes, good that at least it has been reduced, but I think INEC didn't just reduce. It's a function of those who registered and a function of those who registered at the appropriate time that they ought to register. So because they had 18, they just had to go with the 18 because they are the ones that were ready, and they cannot take anything more because of the timetable. It has to be after this next election due to the new law that has been passed. So I think in all, our political parties should be more robust.
Right.
They should be more robust, and they should go away from being centered around individuals. Look at Mogelu's party.
Yeah, YPP.
YPP, for example. Apart from him, I don't really know who else that you can mention.
They have a fine.
Okay.
Yes, YPP.
Where is this guy? This entertainer that won that nearly won at Etiosa local government on the
Banky
W. Which of the parties? I think is the one that also popularized his own political party.
I don't know if it's going to come out again.
Then if it is also possible for even these mini parties to come together, form alliance, so that they can be stronger, it won't be a bad idea.
Final thoughts, Asuku?
No, I want to, because so many people will say, APC, they and PDP, they keep calling those two political parties. But it's not about that. These are parties that they have structures everywhere.
Right.
So for you to win the national election or a presidential election, you must have structures everywhere. It's not on Twitter or Facebook. It is at the polling unit. So you have to know all the wards in Nigeria. Visit all the wards in Nigeria. Visit all this everywhere. You have to be there. People must know you. Then they also know your political party, and you sell your ideas to them. If not, you'll just be a political party on paper.
And that's a fine place to leave it, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your insights, Asukwa James and Olabisi Dejifulutile. Thank you very much for your insights on the show. And that's about it on today's edition of Journalist Hangout. Remember, you can watch a repeat broadcast of it tonight at 11 and join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Esther Makwarila. Bye for now and God bless Nigeria.